You struggling to run well in your Ironman marathon? In this video, I'm going to break down 7 common mistakes that wreck your marathon and show you exactly how to avoid them. If you want to run well off the bike, this is where it starts. I'm Coach Rob Wilby from Team Oxygen Addict. Let's get to it. Running easy runs too hard. This is, I think, the biggest challenge that most people have with the run training. If you go online and you look up Jack Daniel's run pace calculator, if you haven't done so already, he's an amazing, amazing physiologist. He's studied literally thousands of runners around the world, and he's come up with a system where he did VO2 max tests on runners, worked out how fast they can run various distances, and then produced a series of tables that essentially predict how fast you can run different distances based on how fast you can run any distance. And then more specifically, it gives you a series of paces to train at that are specifically targeting different aspects of your fitness so you can directly improve that aspect of fitness to help you with your running. It's a fantastic tool for runners, especially if they're just pure runners and not triathletes. There's a kind of 5-pace training system that allows you to do all the different kinds of training that you need to do to really improve as a runner. Now, I took this system and I applied it to triathletes. I spent a long time working in the club system, looking for ways to help take away the questions from triathletes' minds, which is, how fast should I be running? How do we predict how fast I should run? Should I just go out and run with other people? Is there a system to this? And what I found was there are 2 paces that are really specific to preparing for Ironman and for 70.3. The one that's most useful for Ironman is what Jack Daniels calls E-pace. It stands for easy pace or endurance pace. And it is the pace at which, if you can deliver your run perfectly on race day, having delivered your bike pacing perfectly on race day, you might be able to hold the top end of E-pace come race day. It gives you a really good answer to that question of how fast should I be able to run on race day? And often people who come into Ironman, they're not sure how their open marathon would translate into what they can expect to do on marathon race day. They see pros running 2:40 and they think, well, perhaps I should be able to run really close to my PB of 3 hours. This answers all those questions. If you can run at the fastest end of Jack Daniel's E-pace on race day, you're doing a really, really good job. So what does that mean in training? It means that in training, E-pace is the most specific pace for you to train at, that's most specific for how you're going to be running on race day. We're going to do all manner of other training on the swim and on the bike in order to help improve engine size and improve your aerobic fitness. But the running specifically, we're going to train at the pace you're going to race at on race day. And that's how you're going to get in great shape to do and deliver a great Ironman run. So the big mistake people make here is going out and doing run sessions like runners in a running club, doing tempo runs, doing fast runs, doing interval runs, doing really hard uphill sprint intervals. All those things that runners need to do in order to improve their top end fitness, triathletes don't need to do because we can train on the bike and on the swim for those aspects of fitness and vastly reduce the amount of injury risk we have whilst doing that. We all know that running fast and hard carries the biggest risk of injury, and we can mitigate against that almost entirely by doing all of that training in the pool or on the bike. Now, there's that old joke, if you haven't seen a runner for a while and you want to catch up with them, the best question to ask them is, how's your injury? Because all runners are carrying some kind of injury all the time. I want you to avoid that as an Ironman triathlete, not be carrying an injury. Your runs should be almost exclusively at the pace that's directly applicable to how you're going to run on race day. And the great news is that's a really small chance of you picking up any kind of injuries. So the E-pace runs are going to help build durability. They're going to help, if you like, strengthen your body, your ligaments, your tendons, make you more able to absorb more training. And ultimately, that's what Ironman race day is all about. It's not about who's the fastest. It's not about who's the best runner even. It's about who can continue at a sub-maximal pace for 26 miles without getting fatigued. It's all about durability and fatigue resistance, and only a very, very small amount about how fast you can actually run. Now, we're going to go all the way to the top end with the pros. There's obviously going to be some exceptions there. The males and females racing at the top end of pros, especially these days, are running frighteningly fast. So there's other training that they're going to have to do. And there's going to be a trickle down of that to our very, very top age groupers. But if this is you doing your first Ironman, you have to have a very, very good reason to do training that's harder than it needs to be. And because I saw a video of a pro doing it on YouTube isn't a good reason. So don't make the mistake of doing your easy runs too hard. Next mistake is not updating your run paces when your fitness improves. I'm not a big advocate of age groupers doing frequent run races, especially not just doing them in order to test. But we need to be aware that our fitness is going to increase, especially for training like a lot of athletes do with me. They train for a year in the lead up to an Ironman. We're not going to just stick at the same pace for that whole time if our fitness is increasing. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to make sure we update our run paces every 6 to 8 weeks. We're going to make sure that stays appropriate to the paces that you need to run at. You're not going to see a massive jump forward in 6 to 8 weeks, but you might see a movement of 5 seconds per kilometre, maybe even 10 seconds per kilometre across an 8-week block. But those 8-week blocks will consecutively add up over time. So what we'll do is we'll do a sub-maximal run test. We'll do it at Jack Daniel's M pace. We'll do a 45-minute run at M pace. So it's fast enough to be faster than you would usually be running. So you're not going absolutely flat out, and it's only 45 minutes. So it's not the full distance of a half marathon. But we're going to look at your average heart rate across that 45 minutes. And off the basis of that test, we can then make adjustments to your run pace so we can make sure that you're progressing across time, and most appropriately that your run paces are also changing as your fitness changes. Next mistake I see people making is running with friends and therefore going at the wrong pace or the wrong distance for you. So running with friends is a fantastic way to make the miles go by quicker, and it's a great way to have social interaction, great way to spend time with your mates. But when you're preparing specifically for an Ironman, you've got to make sure that the people you're training with know why you're training and know what you're training for and know what your specific targets are. And the classic mistake that tends to happen here is it's training with friends who are going a bit too fast for how you want to be going, or going for friends who are going for the wrong distance, either too short or too long. It's very rarely that the friend you're running with is too slow for you. And this is interesting. Training for an Ironman is a great time to go out for a run with friends who are slower than you are, and ideally more motivated to train than you are, because that way you've got somebody who's actually going to keep a cap on the pace that you're running at rather than pushing you on to run too fast. And they're also more motivated to help you get out the door, which works brilliantly as well. There's a great example of this story from back when I was racing in the early 2000s. I was really fortunate to be training with a group of athletes down at Simply Running Track. There's some really, really good runners down there, a couple of whom who went on to represent Great Britain at the marathon. They were sort of 2:15 marathon runners. I was not a 2:15 marathon runner. I was a guy who might hope to run 2:45 at my best. But when we went out to do our long run, I would comfortably do my long run at the same pace as these guys who were almost knocking on the door of the British Olympic team. And it made me question this. And I talked to them about this one day and I said, you know, your race pace is a full minute a mile, perhaps a minute and a half a mile faster than my marathon race pace. Why is it that you're doing your long runs so slowly relative to marathon race day? And their answer was really interesting. They had 3 quality sessions a week, and the rest of their runs were all done at that pace. They were all done at a pace that was at my e-pace, let alone at their, it's the slowest end of their e-pace. And this is one of the pieces of the puzzle that fell into place for me. If top marathon runners are doing the majority of their mileage at a pace that I was really comfortable doing, you know, it was not an inappropriately fast pace for me. Maybe I need to apply that same idea myself to my training, make sure that all of my, or the majority of my running was done at the appropriate pace. So making sure that you're running with runners who are going to be running at the pace you need to be is the key here. And pick some runners who are a bit slower than you are. That way, you're not going to be tempted to try and hang on to runners that are going a bit faster than you. Okay, next mistake is doing all of your long training runs as a continuous long run. I'm a massive advocate of the 9-1 run-walk method, where you have a minute's walk break in every 9 minutes of running. And I'll advocate this to my athletes for every run that they do that's an hour or longer. There's something magical about that minute's walk break. It changes your gait. It gives you a micro recovery. But something happens within your body because of that change of gait that means you just don't fatigue anywhere near as much. You don't get anywhere near the level of soreness. And most crucially, you can run for much further as a 9-1 run walk than you can as a continuous run. So if you're capable of running for an hour today as a continuous run, I pretty much guarantee you could run for 2 hours as a 9-1 run walk and not be any more tired or sore the next day because of that. And why is that important to Ironman training? Well, the key to this is you've got to bounce back to train again the next day. You've got to make sure you can train day in, day out for a 16-week block of training for the peak training time for Ironman. And if you're sore for 2 or 3 days after a long run, it's really going to impact the rest of your training. It's honestly revolutionary. And if you've not tried it, please go away and try this in your next long run. Even if you don't extend the length of your run, just do the normal distance you were going to shoot for, you'll find you're so much less sore the next day. That has a massive knock-on effect on how you can carry on into your training and get the rest of your training done that week. Now, next mistake I see people making is either skipping the long run during the week or cutting them short or doing them as a double run day because they're short of time. Now, with my athletes, I'll split the long run away from the long bike ride. I'll put the long bike ride at the weekend because usually by necessity, people need that time to do a 4, 5, 6, 7 hour ride. And I'll move the run into the middle of the week. It's usually on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And it's usually done either before work or after work. And one of the challenges with this is that sometimes athletes come to me and say, look, I just don't have the time to do this. Is it okay to either cut my long run short this week or to do it as 2 runs, one before work and one after work? And my answer to this is always no. Like, I can understand the constraints that you've got, but the demand on your body on race day is going to be a continuous one long run. So therefore you need to do this in training. It's not going to have the same effect if you do an hour before work and an hour after work. So make sure that you carve out the time either before work or after work to get that continuous length of long run done. Don't cut it short. Don't break it into chunks if you possibly can avoid it. Now, the next mistake is having no nutrition or hydration during your long runs. It's going to be absolutely key on Ironman race day that you've practiced taking in calories in the form of carbohydrate, taking in fluid and electrolytes in order to stay hydrated. The challenge here is on Ironman race day, you will already have exercised for 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 hours before you get to the start of the marathon. For most of us, when we start our long run, we're doing it first thing in the morning, last thing at night. We've eaten, we've drunk all day, we're well hydrated, we're well fueled. You won't be well hydrated and well fueled on race day, or certainly not as well as you would be normally. So we tend to not practice eating and drinking while we're running and training. Big mistake. We need to practice this so that we know how it feels on race day. I'm a big advocate of carrying a bottle with you all the time on your run, so you get used to carrying some fluid. It's great practice for race day. There are plentiful aid stations on an Ironman, but having your own bottle with you that you can refill at the aid stations means you can drink whenever you want. And it's really important that you practice this in training. Next mistake I see is not including brick runs consistently in training. Now, I think you only have to do brick runs in the last 8 weeks in the lead up to race day, but make sure you get one done every week. They don't have to be long runs off the bike, but make sure that you get in the habit of once a week running for at least 15 minutes. And the main aim of that brick run is mentally to learn that although your legs may feel like jelly as you start to run off the bike, they are going to come around again. They are going to feel normal. Usually it takes 3 to 5 minutes. But once your legs start to feel normal again, program that into your brain so that you know on race day, my legs are going to come back. They're going to feel fine again. I'm going to be able to run. It's going to be all right. You don't want to get in the mental habit of thinking, I'm completely destroyed and I'm not going to be able to run my marathon, because you are. So that's what the purpose of the brick runs are. I hope this video today has helped you. I'd love to hear in the comments down below about the mistakes that you've made or mistakes you've heard people make. If you can write those in the comments, it will really help out the community of people watching this video. They can learn from your experience, they can learn from everyone's experience, and we can all help each other out. And remember also, please, to like and subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome and it'll help the channel grow. So thank you very much for watching.